Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show.
Yes, the cricket continues to come at us thick and fast this week. The third one-day between England and Ireland is tomorrow. The first test against Pakistan starts on Wednesday. The Bob Willis Trophy well underway as well. In the domestic game, good evening, Michael. What are you most looking forward to seeing this week?
Well, I tell you who I'm not looking forward to seeing. It's Roland, the guy that does the swabs every week and sticks the swab straight down your throat. So I'm not looking forward to seeing Roland. I'm looking forward to seeing Naseem Shah and Shaheen Afridi from Pakistan. The left-hand, right-arm combination, both young quick bowlers. Excited about seeing those two.
OK, and Tuffers, we're going to be chatting coaching in the first half hour of the show tonight with two of England's finest. They're on their way shortly. And for them and for that England coaching setup, it is all about trying to keep that one-day team, and I'm looking at the one-day team in particular, top of the pile as world champions, with everyone trying to knock you off the perch, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's the difficulty. Once you've climbed to the top of the mountain, the challenge is to stay there. But with the depth and the quality England have in their ranks, I reckon they'll be there for a long time. Paul
Collingwood and Marcus Trescothick joining us shortly on Tuffers and Vaughan.
Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show
on 5 Live.
Have they really signed 3 goalkeepers called Ross, or are you winding me up?
No, I saw it in the paper today.
Brilliant.
Ross County of 3 goalkeepers called Ross. And without being nosy here, Phil, because we're all up on Zoom, you just had your phone up there with it. Was that a picture of you and Michael back in the day?
No, that was a picture of me and Michael when we were captaining the TMS team. Yes, and I think it was live on telly, wasn't it, Mike?
Yes.
That was it.
Yes, I think I did you on that occasion, Philip.
Yes, the tactical awareness just got the better of me.
Ali, I must warn you, and we can see each other, but Phil does disappear every now and again because he has problems with his washing machine and dishwasher, so he may have to get up and sort it out.
Well, it's still going now.
Don't worry if he just disappears.
It's still going now, so if you hear some gurgling, I put it on about 2 hours ago. I think I put it on eco mode or something, and it's still going. So if it starts beeping, please forgive me.
I sometimes have similar problems here because during lockdown, I have a kind of errant beagle that goes running around our house looking for food. And I was doing a program about a week ago, and our dog, my eldest son, had just had his birthday and been given a load of sweeties and chocolate, whatever. And I could hear the dog in the room next door while I'm on air ripping the thing to shreds. And I couldn't do anything about it. And I just walked back in after the show, and there's just a total mess.
Oh, dear.
All over the floor.
Naughty boy.
Yes, girl actually. Betsy the beagle. Betsy the beagle. Right.
Love a beagle.
Yeah, but they are greedy and they are naughty. They need good captaincy. They do. So let's get cracking. We're going to start with England's ODI series against Ireland. England have won the first 2, 1 game to play, which is tomorrow. Test match special. Ball-by-ball commentary on air from 1:45 on Sports Extra for that. And delighted to say that Paul Collingwood and Marcus Trescothick both join us from the Aegeus Bowl, head coach and batting coach respectively for this series. Who takes the credit for James Vince coming on, bowling the short stuff and getting a wicket? Which coach takes the credit for that? Good evening, Paul and Marcus.
Good evening, chaps. Right. That is definitely nothing to do with me. That's Collie's genius.
That's nothing to do with me either, Trez. Let me tell you. I think that was Morgs's idea out in the middle.
Yeah. Collie, Vaughan here. Just give us an indication. I know you've had a couple of weeks as the lead coach. I know Silvers is the head coach, but you've had the reins for a couple of weeks. How have you found it?
It's good. You get a nice suite.
Oh,
it's brilliant. You got a great room.
Yeah.
So that's an upside. It's a little bit different. The amazing thing is, because we're in the bubble, we've got a lot more coaches around. So you find as head coach, you just delegate and you don't do as much kind of physical work in terms of throwing at the batters. You leave that to Trez and John Lewis. But I've got a great backroom staff, which has been one of the positives of the bubble, really, is we've been able to bring a lot of the good English coaches that we've got around the country and to get some experience and see what the one-day kings, how they go about it.
And how did you find the first sort of game back, Collie, in England? Obviously, after winning the World Cup, no crowd and what have you. How did the boys cope with it?
They coped really well. I mean, it is what it is. It's as simple as that. And I think everyone was just desperate to play cricket again.
Yeah.
You see the standard of the way they've been practicing. Even the standards in the middle has been very high. You've got a lot of fit cricketers who were fitness ready, and certainly from, as I said, from the nets, they trained really hard to get back out in the park, and I think everyone's just glad that we're back playing cricket again.
And Carl, I noticed in one of the interviews you gave, you said you don't want the team to stand still. What do you mean by that? And world champions, there's pressure that comes. Where do you think there are areas of the team that can be improved upon?
Fielding. You don't want to stand still while you're fielding. Sorry.
Well, the fact is, if you do stand still as a team, I mean, if you stay on a plateau and don't improve, then other teams are going to catch it, and that's what I mean by that is you continue to improve, and that may be experience of playing in pressure situations, that may be confidence, it may be skill level, all these things that you've got to continuously try to improve, and so when the next World Cup comes along, and really you want about probably 16, 17 players that you can call upon at any time in case there are injuries, and if that player comes in for someone like Bairstow at the top of the order, or J. Roy, or someone like that, and fine well, you're bringing in a quality player with experience under the belt, and that's why we've, to be able to see Billings and Vincey in these games. We've got Banton, who's got a couple of games under his belt as well. So it's important to give people that exposure to pressure situations.
Yeah, Trez, Tuffers here, mate. How are you?
Very good, thank you, mate.
Yeah, talking of Banton, he looks a very exciting prospect.
Yeah, he's impressive, very impressive.
Yeah.
I do have the joy of obviously working with him quite closely down at Taunton as well, but it's been the same here, which is great to see. And then he's starting to get an understanding of what it's all about. And Collie talked about the experience is absolutely vital, to gain the knowledge and be around some of the players who already do it and already been involved in the World Cup final and winning the World Cup. Sort of gaining that knowledge off these guys is brilliant, really. So, you no greater place to learn than being involved in something like this.
Trez, now you're a coach. I mean, you've been coaching it quite a while, but you've kind of just finished a year ago. When you see a player like Banton that has so many clubs in the bag, he's got every shot, every trick. How do you, as a coach, sit him down and say, look, to get the big score, to get the 150 pluses, which the England side have got over the last few years, how do you direct him to try and get those big scores?
That's an interesting one. That I think that's a bit of knowledge and a bit of understanding. You're right in saying that he has all the shots, and it's then putting them together. The course management, if you like, of when to use which club and to take on each shot. So it's a progression. It's more of the experience for me that he gains in this environment that he'll learn. And get that understanding, and then realise, especially when you get to 50 overs, if you're going to be playing 50 over cricket and potentially opening the batting, 200's on the cards these days. If you're thinking, 100 was a good score, and 150s are right in where they need to be now, and then even 200's right up into the level of what they get. So I think he's aware of it, and I think at the moment, the tempo is what he got is very suited to T20. It's just a case of learning, especially where he's batting at the moment in sort of 4-5. It's a different position than what he's done with Somerset for the last couple of seasons. And
how is it as coaches? I mean, I watch you guys with the dog thrower flinging the balls to these players. Now, sometimes you're off about 16 yards and they crash it at you. Are you the type that get the helmets on and get all the padding on as well? Because I kind of shut my eyes when I see some of these balls fly past you coaches in the nets.
We do, yeah. I think we do now and again. I carry a helmet in the bag. We've got little nets or screens, or whatever you want to call them, that generally go up in front. If you're going to get that close, then we're always wary that one coming back. You wear your baseball mitt, that's your saving grace more than anything else. But I think sooner or later, we'll all be wearing helmets, boxes, and bits and pieces as well.
Paul, I saw. I think it was Sam Billings in the week talking about this team, this England team, this one-day team, being one of the toughest teams in world sport to get into, which is exactly where you want to be, isn't it? Do you think he's right?
Yeah, 100%. The level of performance from all the players that were involved with the World Cup was huge. They're all match winners. sometimes teams come along and you've got 3 or 4 match winners in a team, and the rest of the team kind of go about their business and do their job. But you can safely go all the way through this one-day team, and a lot of them get Man of the Match awards. So I think that level of skill that they have is incredible. The other thing is they're quite young. Usually after World Cups, what happens? You have a mass exodus because people say, "Oh well, I'm not going to be able to see the next World Cup through, so we'll bring the next generation through." I don't see that happening because all these players are still young enough to be able to get through to that next World Cup. So it's unless you get injuries, which is you don't want that. It's a very tough environment to try to force your way into because the level of performance is so high.
Yeah, and it must have been great to see Dave Willey come back the way he did. He must have felt very upset about being left out of the World Cup, and then wickets and runs. It must have been delighted. He must have been delighted with his performance.
Yeah, and he was upset last year. It was a tough call with Archer coming in, and he'd been all the way through up to that Pakistan series. So you've got 2 ways to look at it. You either pull your socks up and get on with it and fight your way back in, which is exactly what he's done. Or you get upset by it all and and give it up. But he's got a great attitude. He's been fantastic. He's always taken wickets at the top of the innings, and that left arm angle is something else. And we saw the other day that he can see the team home with a bat as well, which is crucial.
Just for both of you, I mean, now you're in the camp as well, Trez. What is the blueprint, Collie, for the batting? Because you look at the transformation in the last 3 or 4 years. It's been remarkable. Even the chase down, against Ireland. You smacked 174 in 28 overs. You chased a 216 in 32. You're talking in our time, 10, 15 years ago. You'd look to finish that off in like the 46th, 47th over. But you're just winning games, even though you're losing wickets. It looks to me like you just try and challenge a boundary every single over, if not 2.
Yeah, well, the simple blueprint is be aggressive, play a smart, aggressive cricket, and put the opposition under pressure. Now, that is a simple game plan that whether we're batting or bowling, but we want to continuously put the opposition under pressure. And the more players you can have who do that, it's going to be harder for the opposition to win games against you. And it's learning. You're going to fail. There's going to be a lot of batsmen who go out there and try to do that to the opposition, and you fail. And I think that's where the security of your position, security of that, this is the message that is going right away throughout the team. So we know what we're trying to do. It's just if you do fail, we just got to get better at it. So it's a consistent message, I should say, right way throughout the team, and one that's worked over the last 4 years. And we want to try to filter not just the players that are playing in the one-day side, but also down to county cricket. So it was great to see, we had 24 players come into the one-day camp, and quickly to see the kind of level of intensity that these guys are performing at. And if that can then filter down into county cricket, then we really are going to be looking at a huge pool of players who are going to be aggressive cricketers.
And in terms of putting that plan into place, Paul, and getting the message across, I mean, obviously it must help hugely that you've got Owen Morgan as captain, who's been there, forever and a day, and is, absolutely brilliant at that job and what he does in the team. I mean, is he almost like having another, I know he's not a coach, you guys are the coaches, but is he almost like having another coach out there?
Well, he's a leader. It's as simple as that. And people lead and have consistent messages and are very clear with how he wants the players to go about it. Himself and Trevor Bayliss revolutionised our one-day cricket. And that was through clear messages, how we want to play the game, getting the right personnel to go about that kind of approach. And you have to say they've done a fantastic job. And Chris Silverwood's taken over and continued to allow the players to experiment, allow the players to go out there and put the opposition under pressure, which is, there's no point in him coming in and trying to change things when you got guys who are doing some seriously skillful things.
And Trez, how are you finding it on the other foot? Now a coach, not in that dressing room as a player anymore.
Good. Yeah, really enjoyed the sort of transition for it, getting the understanding and coming in and seeing it. And it's to sort of drop into that almost, off the back of, what you'd heard so much about this team, and then coming into the environment and seeing how the captain operates and what the coaches do and things. It's really about the message that Morgan in particular, sort of delivers constantly. The approach that he has and the way that he goes about these sort of things. It's a superb message to have, but he backs it to the hilt and continues it on, even on days when they're a little bit harder or maybe not quite performed in the right vein that you wanted to. It's more about the message that they deliver after that is superb, and I think that's what really the players sort of thrive off. So it's great learning for me to come in and see it, at first hand, to see exactly what they do.
Have you noticed the intensity of the way that they train and the way that they operate, Trez?
I think I don't think it's necessarily a different intensity. I think it's a different approach in terms of their attitude towards being positive in going about their business. They trust it, and they know they've got the backing from the skipper and the coaches behind them to go about and sort of make that work. Our job is to facilitate with them. Of course, we'll push them in the right direction if we don't believe they're quite matching up to the intensity what they need to. If they're coming in with a county intensity when they need to be at international levels, then they need to be upskilled and improve on that. But it's the environment sort of creates it for themselves. They're the sort of people coming in are grasping it and understanding what they've got the levels they've got to try and reach.
Yeah. How do you then sort of bleed in ideas, or perhaps you've got ideas about how it should be moving forward and batting and what have you? How do you then sort of go and talk to the players without sort of getting in their ear holes too much or getting them off that message?
Well, I don't think, I'm going to come into a 3-week sort of camp with, change the game or, revolutionise what batting is all about. It's an approach, it's a mentality to what they're trying to do, really. The technical side of the game, you have your own sort of ideas about potentially what you can do, but it's then trying to fit it right to the different people. It's really tough to try and judge. Collie might know more about that, how that's worked in sort of delivering new messages.
Well, I think, I was just going to butt in there, to be honest, Trez, but I think we've all been in pressure situations, and playing international cricket is a high-intensity pressure environment that you play in. And working in the nets and training in the nets, you see a skill level that is beyond belief at times.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to transfer is that net situation and allow the players and create an environment that they can go out in the middle and don't think about the consequences. So it's just like the net situation or playing in the backyard or, that's where you play some of your best cricket is in the net. And it's like, wow, okay, go out there and get as close to 100% skill-wise as you can out in the middle. And it's difficult to do, When you get out in the middle, you've got the TV cameras, you've got the crowds in there. I would certainly say through my career, I probably got to about 60, 70%, especially playing test match cricket, of my overall ability, because I was too scared to make mistakes and stuff. Now, you're trying to get these guys into a frame of mind where go out there and express yourself, go and enjoy yourself. You'll make mistakes, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to get picked. You're still going to get a run of games. All this kind of stuff gives you the security, so you can try to get these guys as close to 100% skill-wise as they possibly can when they're playing in the actual game.
What do you both see is possible as an improvement? I mean, this big number of 500 to score in a 50-over game, cool. Is it possible? Or what is the next thing that we may see in the one-day game that's necessarily not been seen before?
It's a good question. You are seeing the odd player with left arm, right arm combinations that they can, either throw or bowl left arm, right arm.
That, Phil.
Because batting has got to a point where players are playing. If you're a right-handed batsman, you're playing left-handed shots at times. Yeah. So you are seeing a lot more of that. But our kind of strategy and blueprint, I guess, is based on flat wickets, which. The white ball doesn't generally do that much on any pitch. So, anything could happen, and you're trying to create that environment that the players believe anything can happen. There's no ceiling, there's no restrictions we're putting on you. Just go out there and explore and see how far you can get.
Adil seems to have enjoyed that little bit of rest after his injury, and that his leggies have got that sort of spike back into him. Can you see it? Can you see him coming back into Test cricket?
Trez, do you want to take that one?
That's definitely one for you, mate. Go on,
Well, he's bowling well, and he's got the 150 wickets, didn't he? In one day stuff. He looked on the telly to be, the control was there, the spin was there, it sort of was dipping, and also that spike was there again.
Yeah,
to me, I'm going, that's a Test match bowler.
Yeah, well, he did have a bad shoulder for some time, and he was bowling with a niggle in there, and he couldn't quite get the paces out that he was wanting to get out. And you can see now that his shoulder's much better. It's strong. He's done a lot of hard work on it to get back into 100% fitness. And it makes a huge difference if you're confident from a spin bowler's point of view that you're not going to get any pain if you bowl your googly or your flipper. And he's getting the paces back out. And as you said, when you've got that pace on the ball, you get the dip as well, and he's looking in fine form. I don't know about whether he'd want to come back for Test cricket.
Looks like a Test bowler to me.
That long drawn-out answer you've not even given us an answer.
It's like that, but like a politician, aren't I?
Yeah, you're going to be a very good head coach.
But don't answer the question.
Yeah, Phil, you've absolutely teed that up beautifully here on Tuffers and Vaughan, because our first topic after 9 o'clock, after the news at 9, I've written down here about Adil Rashid potentially returning to the Test cricket arena. So,
well, he just looked up for it to me. I mean, it's just the consistency that when he played in Test match cricket, there was always that one or two bad balls, but he just looked like it was coming up beautifully.
5 more minutes with Paul Collingwood and Marcus Trescothick here. Marcus, just one for you on sort of coaching in general. How much are you a stats and data guy, and how much are you a feels guy?
I'm very much a feels guy. I think it's the touch, the little bit of detail that goes into it while you're out there in the nets. There are a time and a place for stats and for looking at the TV and watching back on videos. Of course, there is, but it's very much built around how it feels, what's going on in the mind, and trying to deal with it in that sort of fashion. For me, otherwise it just gets a bit complicated. I think you can fill yourself with too much information, or not really allow yourself to be too free. And exactly what Paul's been talking about there, we're trying in this environment, you're trying to take away all the thinking too much and just allow them to be at their best, at their optimum. So let's not confuse it too much.
Just on the bio bubble, lads, have you found it in and around the cricket grounds? Having your dinner on tables 2 meters apart. Have you been all right?
Yeah, it's been different. Obviously, I've enjoyed getting down to the dinner table, as you know, Mick. But it's been good. It's been an interesting place to be around. But good fun. Obviously, down here at the GS, they've looked after you very, very well.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think we'd all sacrifice to, that little bit of freedom just to make sure that we get some cricket back on. That's good for everybody. It's not just good for the England team because they're playing it. It's good for the county game. It's good for everywhere that goes around because it's keeping it all moving forward. So it's been good.
Collie, I have to say, it was slightly coincidental when I saw you with the head coach and being based at the Ageas Bowl, the venue with the golf course. I did find that a little bit bizarre.
Yeah, that's been very handy. Definitely, it's been. I reckon I've probably played 7 or 8 rounds so far. So I know where the pin positions are, what wind direction, and all that. But it's actually it's a godsend, to be honest with you. Just being able to get outside and feel as though you're in the outside world, because it's tough at times when you're in this environment. You're looking around. I mean, I'm looking out my window now. You've got an empty stadium. There's nobody around. It feels like a ghost town. And you're not exactly encouraged to get together most of the time as well. So I do honestly think it could be mentally tough for the players if we have to do this continuously. One of the big things from a player's point of view is recharging your batteries and finding ways to do that, whether that's seeing the family, going to restaurants, having a beer on a night, whatever it may be, is very important in a cricketer's life. But it's just, it is the way it is at the moment. And, it's just great that we're back playing cricket. But hopefully it gets relaxed sooner rather than later.
And Paul, just before we let you both go, thank you very much for both coming on this evening. What do you want to see from the team tomorrow? Last one there against Ireland. What needs to be improved?
I'm hoping it's going to be a flat pitch and allow these batsmen to go out there and put a performance on. That's what I would like to see. So I hope the pitches are slightly better and that we can go out there and put a big score on the board. It would be good to finish the series off like that.
Okay, excellent. Paul, Marcus, thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks.
I just want to say, it's great to listen to Trez and Collie there. We were just talking about coaches and the depth of the actual and the quality of the players, but we've got such great people in charge at the moment. Silverwood, Thorpe, and all these guys. So much experience. I wish there'd have been a few around when I was playing. It looks like they know what they talk. They talk about getting the best out of you. You know what I mean? Instead of sort of like whacking you across the back, sort of thing. With a stick. So, well, not that they did that or anything, but it felt like it sometimes. So
there's a revelation.
We're in a very, very good position, I think, at the moment.
Who hit you with a stick, Phil?
Well, no.
Who was it? Come on, let us know.
No.
But Paul Collingwood there was talking
Only
about
with a
that.
Yes. I was going to say a branch.
in terms of sort of not just bringing players through, but bringing coaches through. For example, Jonathan Trott. Am I right in saying he's going to be working on the batting side of things, isn't he, in the Test series as well? So all of that is part of it, isn't it?
Well, you can go through. We've got Jonathan Trott there with the Test team this week. You've got Graham Welsh, an all-rounder, played at Derby, Warwickshire. Jeetan Patel, the off-spinner. He's going to be in the ranks as well. Throughout that Test series against the West Indies was Matt Walker from Kent, Glenn Chappell from Lancashire, Chris Reed, the wicketkeeper. He was helping out. He was with that machine every morning, wasn't he, with Ben Folkes, just firing balls to Ben Folkes at around 9:30 every single morning. So it's good, actually, that England and Ashley Giles is trying to give all these young English coaches, and they are young in terms of coaching, opportunities to be in and around the Test team. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm so glad I wasn't a wicketkeeper. They were out there for hours, Mike.
Too early.
Too early. They woke me up.
I suppose the other thing we're saying yes to that gig as well, for coming in for a series, in this day and age at the moment is, the thing you've got to weigh up is Rodney still, whether you want to go through facing that, Roland, beg your pardon.
Rodney Roland.
Rodney.
Roland got moved. He got moved in at Old Trafford. Roland. He was just in front of the media centre. That's where we were getting our swab test, and he got shifted to the nets. He got taken away, and Hannah came and did our swab test instead. She was lovely.
Right.
Yeah.
Roland
was like Zorro. He really was. He was like a chimney sweep straight up there.
Yeah.
T20 star, wasn't he?
Roland, I've written that down now. Won't get that wrong.
Roland,
not Rodney. Roland Rat, Rodney Trotter. What am I talking about? Right, but let's finish up on the one-day series against Ireland for now. And Phil, we'll just go back to Adil Rashid quickly, because you said the stat there. So the first English spinner to take 150 ODI wickets. Just watching him technically, what's he doing at the moment? What you said he's up for it and he's bouncing. What is he doing at the moment?
Yeah, well, I think that some of the cricketers have liked the layoff. They've had a bit of a layoff. They've had little niggly injuries. They've gone away, worked and strengthened them with the strength and conditioning coaches, and just got a little bit of that appetite back for it a little bit as well as stronger and fitter and what have you, and that's what Adil looked. As Collie said, he had a few niggling little injuries in that shoulder, which means that you just can't really give it a rip and a fizz. Not necessarily bowl it quicker, but just bowl it with more action on it. And I thought he bowled wonderfully well. Great achievement, 150 wickets, as you said, but the consistency was there. I hardly saw him bowl a bad ball. The variations were there, coming out beautifully. And then just also that leggy, it just had that dip and that drop and that fizz off the pitch, which was just lacking. And you can understand why, because the shoulder wasn't quite right. But you just saw that strength in the shoulder and the delivery. That's what he's got back for me.
I'm sure I heard Vic Marks say on Test Match Special that his googly is better than Shane Warne's.
Well, Shane had a lot of trouble with his googly, didn't he? He started off bowling it, and then his shoulder almost stopped him bowling it because of sort of like a niggle and an injury there, and he had to just, he had to sort of conjure up all these zooters and all these other different kind of deliveries. But mate, you're right, he bowls the one out the front of the hand, the googly, mixes up his paces. He looks at the moment that he's just in control of everything he does, which for a leg spinner is tricky, believe me, because it is a very difficult art to master. But it looks on the top of his game, and congratulations, 150 wickets. I mean, that's a lot of wickets.
Yeah, I mean, we've just got to be careful. He's bowling to Ireland. No disrespect.
Well, yes, but no, I just saw it, Mike. No, Mike, I just saw it in him. You know what I mean? I know he's only bowling to Ireland and whatever. No disrespect to Ireland, but I just saw in the way the ball was coming out. It doesn't matter who he was bowling at. Obviously, they're going to be better players and playing better. But he just saw that little bit of spite. I like that word, spite, in the bowler. You know what I mean? It just hits the pitch and goes instead of just sort of like turns and goes past the bat.
Well, in white ball cricket, he's very, very good. Yeah. Very, very good. We all have a tendency every now and again to over-egg a few things. I'm not having that. His googly's better than Shane Warne's. I'm not having that.
Well, he didn't bowl it much, Shane,
No, well, he did in the 90s. Then, as you said, his shoulder went and it was more difficult. And it was quite an easy one to pick by the end of it. But when he was at his best, you've got to judge these players when they're at the best. I'm not having that. No. Rashid's googly's better than the King Shane Warne's. But I will say, it will always get brought up with Adil Rashid in Test cricket because he will always have success in the white ball game. And as we speak in Test match cricket, England aren't amassed with a load of riches. There's not a Graham Swan there. There's Dominic Bess, who's a good young off-spinner, and he's lots more opportunity. You've got Jack Leach, you've got Moeen Ali. Will he come back into the Test team? I think the way that Adil Rashid bowls, he needs a Graham Swan by his side. He's not a spin bowler that will be in a Test team as a sole spinner. Yeah. He's a second spinner. So when you go to Sri Lanka, when you go to India, you'll need a second spinner. Definitely. And it's just whether Adil Rashid desperately wants to do it. If he desperately wants to do it, he's certainly got enough talent that could make it work. He's played 19 Test matches. He averages just under 40. He's got 60 wickets. So he's had quite a few. 19 Test matches is quite a few tests to try and find out in yourself whether you really want to be a Test match cricketer. And he said over the last few years, he suddenly said recently that he quite fancies coming back in. But there was a period where he didn't want to play. He pulled out of playing 4-day cricket for Yorkshire, which again sends the message to me that he's not 100% committed to the longer format. At nearly 32, 33, I just wonder whether at his stage of his career, is he just better off being the best white ball spin bowler that England can possibly have? He's won a World Cup. Could he win England a T20 World Cup in a year and a half time? Another World Cup in India in 3.5 years' time? Would it be better for English cricket that Adil just sticks purely to the white ball game, commits to that, and he'll do a great service and end up with probably 300 one-day wickets, be our greatest ever, no question about that, by the time he finishes in one-day cricket. By playing Test match cricket, will it nullify? As I said, that shoulder can't be great. He's had problems with it. And he plays Test match cricket in the longer format. It might take something from the white ball game. So I personally think he's better off just playing with the coloured clothes, a white ball, being the best that he possibly can be, and English cricket has to look elsewhere for the spin department for Test cricket.
I just think I see that seam and fast bowling unit in Test match cricket, and I think just the one thing that could take us to the top of the game is that mystery spinner, that little bit of something special.
I'm not too sure he bowls quick enough for Test cricket. I know people say it's his shoulder. I've seen him for many, many years at Yorkshire, Phil. Yeah. Many, many years. He had success in 4-day cricket, but it was more about, they used to call him the sweep, I think they called him the sweeper or the hoover because he hoovered up the tail. He very rarely got the top order out, but he hoovered up the tail because he'd just throw it up and they wouldn't know which way it was spinning. But I'm not convinced about him in Test cricket. I'm not too sure he bowls it quick enough, but I think he's an outstanding white ball bowler.
Yeah, just talking about the white ball, red ball game. I mean, just in terms of spin bowling, they are some of the biggest stars in white ball cricket. Are spinners losing their influence in red ball cricket in general?
I think we had a generation around the late 90s, early 2000s where everyone had a a mystery spinner, Sakle Mushtaq, Muralitharan, Anil Kumble, Harbhajan.
Good luck, Phil.
There was, good luck, Phil. Ball in your left arm, kind of one-way spinners. Get them with the arm ball, Phil. And then obviously Shane Warne. There was a mass of great spin bowlers, and I actually think and there was probably not as many high quality quick bowlers. There was some outstanding ones, but as groups I don't think there was as many. Whereas I look now, and I think there's kind of been a turn of trend in terms of real quality in the seam department. There's some real quality seam attacks in Test match cricket. You don't have to look at the West Indies that have just been here. You look at Pakistan that are going to be playing on Wednesday, England's riches in the seam bowling department, Australia. You look at India now, that their seamers, Shami, Sharma, Bumrah, high class, Yadav. So I just think we're going through a bit of an era, and I just wonder whether it was Syed Ajmal from Pakistan. The actions started to come into question, didn't it, Phil?
Yeah.
And one or two went on the naughty step because of their actions were a little bit suspect. And I just wonder whether that put a few people off trying to be one of those mystery style spin bowlers. But it's just generational. Just at the minute, there's lots of seamers, not so many spinners. Yeah,
well, it's very difficult to bowl a doozeroo without giving it a hoy, Mike, isn't it? And that's what happened to Ajmal, wasn't it? So, listen, as you said, it is trends, isn't it? I'm sure that there's going to be, and you said we've got the likes of Don Best, young fellow who's going to be, coming into the game and feeling his way, and Jack Leach and what have you. So, I think every good Test team worth their salt needs a decent and a good, more than a decent spinner, a good spinner.
If you're going to be the number one Test team in the world, I think you need a high class spin bowler to be able to bowl from one end in all conditions. Nathan Lyon. Look at England got to number one. Graham Swan was in the team. I think you need a high class spin bowler.
Yeah.
He got mentioned briefly with Paul Collingwood and Marcus Trescothick. Sam Billings, Michael, what have you made of him?
Well, I look at these games because all the players will know that the Ben Stokeses, Butlers, Jofra Archers, they'll all be coming back into the side. So if you get your chance, you've got to take it. Look at James Vince. I know he mentioned his bowling, but he hasn't taken his two opportunities with the bat. Banton's looked okay, but he hasn't yet said, look, I demand to be in the next squad that you're picking. But you look at Sam Billings and David Willey, two experienced pros. They've been around the traps. They've been in, obviously, quite a lot of the squads. Willey's played a lot going into that World Cup last year. He'd have been absolutely gutted that he wasn't a part of that squad. And both those two have come back and done fantastically well, with Willey getting the 5 for seeing him home with the bat. But I look at Billings in particular and think that the way that he plays, and he's so versatile that he can bat pretty much anywhere. He sweeps the spin bowlers. Where's the next World Cup in India? So he's going to be in and around. He's one of those players that the players and the coaches absolutely adore. And that's why he gets so many gigs in all the T20 leagues around the world. He's a great team man. But what he'll be the first to admit to say is he needs performances now. And just maybe now is his opportunity, and now is his kind of moment over the next year or so to really establish himself in the one-day team, because he's certainly got the gift and he's got the game, he's got all the tricks. Maybe he just needs a run of games in the side, a few opportunities. With the way of the world and the way cricket may be played, it might be that we have to do things like we've seen over the last 2 one-day games and the last one tomorrow, where the Test players do get put to one side because they're in one bubble and the one-day team are in a different bubble, and there won't be that many players that play in both formats. Maybe over the next year or so it might give more opportunities to the likes of Sam Billing. All right, Phil, what are you going to say?
Well, no, have you had a power cut, Mike?
Yeah, I've gone. Should I turn my light on?
Turn your light on, Mike.
Oh yeah, I'll turn my light on.
Yeah.
What are you doing in the darkness here?
Yeah, he might just walk off now, Phil. Oh, there we go. There we go. Michael's lights are on. Very good.
His lights are on, but no one's home.
Yeah.
That's always the case. I'm a bit red. I've been in the garden.
Yes, you have, Mike. You need to put some sunscreen on that.
Yeah, I forgot. It's northern weather. I didn't expect it.
Yeah. Okay, I tell you what. Let's talk the Test series against Pakistan now. So this starts on Wednesday at Old Trafford. 2 matches then to come at the Ageas Bowl. England here looking to win a 3rd Test series in a row, guys. Something that hasn't happened since Andrew Strauss's team got to number 1 in the world. But what about the challenge of Pakistan? They're unbeaten home and away against England in a decade.
Yeah, love Pakistan as a cricket nation and a cricket team, actually. From when I played, you had the greats like Wasim and Waqar, Mushtaq Ahmed, wonderful flamboyant batsmen as well. They're an exciting team to watch. They always come up with something different. They're attacking, and they're just a side that you never know what you're going to get. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but when they bring their A game, they're as good as anyone. And you've already mentioned the left arm quicks. There's the youngster coming over as well, 17-year-old Quick, isn't he? I think he's already taken a load of test wickets. The leg spinners as well, Shaheen Shah. So really excited. To see what Pakistan bring to the party. There's always something a little bit different with Pakistan. And so how they've never particularly travelled well to England, I don't think, but we shall see. And if England take them lightly, they'll come a cropper, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned my face been a bit red because of the weather. The weather's been good in and around Manchester for the last few days, and it's going to be a dry week. So you'd fancy that whoever bats first, you look at the two tests against the West Indies, England got the opportunity to bat first because Jason Holder decided to bowl, surprisingly. If Pakistan bat first, this will be a test series. It'll be a tight one because this England test team, as you mentioned, Alistair, they are onto something. I think we can all see that there's a development in place. They're playing the right style of cricket to give them a bit of consistency in test cricket, but they still struggle when the opposing team bat first and get something like 300 in the first innings. And when you've got Babar Azam playing for you, he is right up there. I mean, he's had a great record of late, 200 or 300s in the last few test matches. You looked at the West Indies team, and realistically, did you ever see 350, 400? Nah, you saw 250, 300, which, can put you under pressure, as it did in that first game in Southampton. But with this Pakistan team, with Babar Azam, Azhar Ali, Shan Masood, they've got players that could get them to that big number. And then you mentioned the seam attack. I mean, Naseem Shah at 17, he bowls 80 odd miles an hour, probably 88, 90. He swings it both ways. He bowls a terrific length. He's got the most pure of actions. It's very similar. I mean, when people see him, not many people in the UK will have seen him bowl. He's got a very similar action to Fred Truman. It's a glorious...
Really?
It is pure. I'm telling you, I saw his debut in Australia. It's a pure action. And then you've got Shaheen Afridi, the left arm. He's about 7 foot. He gets them down at 90s. Again, awkward. And then you've got Mohammed Abbas, who bowls wobblers at about 80 miles an hour. That bowled England out at Lords when Pakistan won there a few years ago. And then you've got the leg spinners of Yasir Shah and Shadib Khan. So they are an exciting team that could put England under a huge amount of pressure.
Yeah, they got 20 wickets in them all day long.
Oh yeah.
If they just get it right, and as you say, win a couple of tosses and then get those runs. I think Misbah as well has been a good appointment as coach. I think he's going to bring a lot.
He's in charge of everything, Phil.
In charge of everything. I think he's going to bring a very level-headed determination. Do you remember when he did the press-ups at Lords, Mike? We was there. I mean, it was just brilliant.
Great,
and I think he's going to bring a bit more of a sort of a calmness and a bit more of a determination to a Pakistan side, which in the past, perhaps, as you said, didn't quite know which team was going to turn up.
Okay, well, the perfect man to talk to now about Misbah would be the managing director of the PCB, Wasim Khan, who is on the line. Welcome to Tuffers and Vaughan, Wasim.
Thank you.
Hello, Waz.
Wasim, where are you? Are you over here?
Right, I'm sitting in Moseley at home. Outside of the bubble.
Are you coming into the bubble this week?
I will be, mate. I'll be at Old Trafford on Wednesday. So looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange, but it's all right.
And just talking about that, Wasim, I think that's actually got to be the first question in terms of just making this happen. I mean, obviously we've had a series over here with the West Indies, but just the efforts, the logistics to just put this whole thing together. What's that been like from your point of view for the Pakistan team?
I mean, it was pretty challenging, to be honest. We tested all the players around about the 20th of June. And of the 29 players, 10 were tested positive. So, we had a flight booked on the 28th to bring the guys over. So there was a lot of pressure, I guess, of people sort of asking a lot of questions about why we were still going ahead with the tour. But, I was pretty adamant from the word go that, with everything we'd heard from the ECB and what I'd spoken to Johnny Graves at the Cricket West Indies, was that everything was in place. And so if we could get the guys out to England, then they'd be absolutely fine. So 19 got on the plane. And then the other 10 have sort of filtered through as they've sort of had their negative tests. So they've sort of got the full complement over here now.
Has that affected preparation? I mean, England have obviously played some Test cricket, which Pakistan haven't done. But in terms of preparation, with the squad being a bit split like that, has that been tricky?
Hasn't been too much of an issue, to be honest, because 8 of the 10 players who were tested positive initially were white ball players. So it wasn't a huge issue for us in terms of the preparations for the Test series. And also, I think having 29 players here ultimately, I think the intra matches that have taken place, there's been 2 4-day matches, have been highly competitive. And, when a lot of the tourist sides come over, county teams tend to sort of feel second 11. So in terms of getting prepared for what they're going to get on Wednesday, this has probably been great preparation because you've had 29 players, or at least 20 of those, competing for 11 spots for Wednesday.
Was Vaughan here. Just give the listeners an indication of what the Pakistan team and the coaching staff have been doing and where they've been based. And, because we saw the West Indies by the time the third test came, you just felt that they'd run out of gas. They'd had enough of cricket grounds, and that's exactly where they'd been. That obviously Old Trafford and the Ageas ball back to Old Trafford. It just felt a little bit too much that last game for them. What about your team? How have they been? I think they've been at Worcester, haven't they?
Yeah, they arrived and they went straight to Worcester, so they had 14 days there, and then they moved over to Derby, and they've had the last sort of 14 days in Derby preparing for the series. But I think it's really important, Vaughan, with a tour like this and knowing what the guys are going to have to go through with a biosecure bubble, that we had the right complement of coaching staff as well, guys that could bring the team together and just keep the spirit going. So Mushtaq Ahmed was somebody I was really keen on to get on this tour, just because of the type of individual he is. He'll bring people together. He knows English conditions. Yunus, he's a batting legend for Pakistan. Bringing him in, and of course we've got Waqar and Misbah as well. So the guys, the spirits have been really, really high actually.
And how have the warm-up game? I know there's been some real competition. I've seen a little bit of it online, but the warm-up games looked very competitive.
Yeah, there have been. I think a couple got rattled. A few of them got hit on the hands. I think 1 or 2 of them got hit on the head. And, so it's been full throttle. The guys haven't played competitive cricket since March. And, you just wondered whether, how ready they would be coming into Wednesday. But everything I've heard back from the coaching staff is that it's been pretty intense and highly competitive and as good as it's going to get. So, bowlers running in full pelt. And the batters really sort of having to work hard to score runs, and people fielding well, and there's been a lot of energy around the place. And the spirits, to be honest, Warnie, from everything I'm hearing, are hugely high, and the guys are just chomping at the bits to start on Wednesday.
What kind of brand of cricket are Pakistan looking to play now, Wes? And sort of how are they going to sort of like come over to these shores and express themselves? What can we expect?
Yeah, I think there'll be... initially, I think might be a little bit of caution on the first day because the guys haven't played for a while. I know that all the vibes that I'm getting from Mushi and Waqar and the coaching staff is they want the guys to be aggressive and take England on. And just go out there fresh, go out there with a very clear mindset. I know Wasim's spoken up. I know Shoaib Akhtar's spoken up. All guys who have had a lot of experience, and they were the team of the 90s, and they were successful in England because they played aggressive cricket. And I think that's certainly something that we set up a huge number of online sessions for our players when they're in Pakistan, so the likes of Mohammed Yusuf and Mushi and Yunus Khan and Javed Miandad, a lot of the old legends actually spoke to them about game plans and mindset. So I think hopefully they'll all be ready come Wednesday to play positive cricket.
We all loved watching Misbah captain the team here 4 years ago. Just before you came on, Wasim, Michael and Phil were reminiscing about that. What's he like as in the position he's in now? Head coach and chief selector as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, my mindset on that was just sort of very much, having played cricket even at county level. There's always challenges and issues about who was ultimately accountable for team performances. Chief selectors select squads. They give them to the coaches. The coaches may not always, agree with certain squad selections, and therefore, there's always a bit of a grey area around accountability. And I just felt that, with the system, the way it was set up in Pakistan, that actually having the right caliber individuals, someone like Misbah, who, let's not forget when he took over in 2010, after the sort of the match fixing scandal, Pakistan cricket was probably at its lowest ebb, and he led throughout that whole period of time, with real dignity, professionalism and strength. And, we knew what we were going to get with Misbah. And I heard Tuffers say earlier about, the type of individual Misbah is. And, he'll be up and at them, and he'll talk about being positive, and he'll get the guys mentally prepared and get them strong for what to expect on Wednesday. So, I think with those two roles, I think he's managed them pretty well. We've reduced the domestic structure from 16 teams down to 6, and the 6 head coaches form part of the selection panel as well. So they feed into Misbah about local players and domestic players. But, he's handled it really, really well. And I think it's the type of role, the dual roles can only be really given to a right type of individual. And we felt that he had the right characteristics to do both roles.
And Waz, I mentioned before you came on about your young quick bowlers, that they are something, aren't they? Naseem Shah, he is. I said to Phil and Alistair about, he reminded me of Fred Truman. He's got a pure action, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's wonderful to watch.
He's brilliant. And there's 2 other lads as well, Mohammed Hasnain, Vaughan, who bowls real speed, and particularly in white ball cricket, you'll see him, he shapes it away. And a young lad called Musa Khan is probably the quickest out of the lot. And he's a real skiddy bowler. And Waqar said when he took over this job, he said, look, just give me 2 years with this group of 5 out-and-out quicks. And he said, I'll make them into world beaters. And so even Musa, we've kept him in the squad here so that Waqar can continue to work with him. And, it is really, really exciting. We've got Shaheen Shah as well as a left-arm quick bowler now. He's a real quality performer at international level in all formats. He plays all formats. So it's going to be really exciting, Vaughan. We just need our batters to support Barbara. So we need the likes of Azhar Ali, Asad Shafiq, 2 really experienced players to really support Barber, so that not everything is left on him. We need these guys to come to the party, really.
We're going to be talking about the great Pakistan quick bowlers in the next section of the show. Wazim, before we let you go, could I just ask you one, kind of throwing it ahead a little bit? I mean, we're all very excited here to have Pakistan playing in a test series against England. We were just saying right at the start, how exciting that is and what a great team they are to watch. In terms of England possibly touring Pakistan 2022, how important to you is it that happens? Where are we with that?
I think we're really a way forward with that. I think that in 2022 we've got Australia and England who are due to tour then. And we said from the beginning that it would be very much baby steps in terms of there's a lot of cricket and a lot of home series we've got to play between now and then. But, there's absolutely right now there's no reason why they shouldn't be coming in 2022. We've had the MCC tour, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh have been over. We had 30-odd overseas players who were in Pakistan for 4 weeks during the HBL PSL. So, everything is pointing in the right direction. We certainly want to get A tours up, and it's absolutely critical for a country of 200 million people who are just fanatical about their cricket that we can just get international cricketers playing back in the country, and England will take us a massive step forward in really galvanising cricket again in the country.
Yeah, excellent. Wazim, thank you. Thank you very much for coming on Tuffers and Vaughan this evening, and good luck.
Cheers, thanks guys.
We'll see you from a distance in the bio, but you're not allowed in our bubble, we're not allowed in yours, but we'll give you a wave.
Mate.
We'll give you a wave from the balcony.
I'll raise my coffee glass from a distance for you, and I'll salute you.
Excellent.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Wazim Khan is the managing director of the Pakistan Cricket Board Test Series. Starts on Wednesday. Yeah, talking about those quick bowlers, the battery of quick bowlers. Actually, Michael, just before we get on to the Pakistan quicks, you toured Pakistan once, didn't you? Am I right in saying have you played
twice?
There? Twice. Yeah. How did you find that as a player?
Well, it's a great place to go and play cricket. Obsessive about the game. We didn't get huge crowds for test matches, but there was enough, and in the one-day arena it was absolutely jam-packed. They're just a nation that absolutely adore the game of cricket. So you'll see kids playing all over the place, and hopefully we can get to the stage where it's safe. And as Wasim said there, with the PSL that's taken place there, the MCC having toured there, I think we are getting closer to the England side going back there. But obviously there's a few things that have to happen between now and 2022. But it is a country that I'd love to go back. And watch the England team there.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it then. Let's talk Pakistan quick. These could be fond memories or frightening memories. So, I mean, I think everyone's sitting at home. If you were just playing a little game of take it in turns to rattle off the names: Wasim Akram, Waqar Younis, Shoaib Akhtar, Mohammed Amir, Imran Khan. And the question is, Mike, I mean, we've mentioned him a couple of times. We're possibly getting a first glimpse of another one in this series in Naseem Shah, 17 years old, Test debut at 16, already taken the fifer.
And Fred Truman.
And bowls like Fred Truman.
Honestly, Phil, you will be ringing me on... You're not doing this test match. You're doing some kind of show called Question of Sport. I don't know what that is. But I'll tell you, you'll be ringing me on Wednesday if he bowls and he said he has got the most gorgeous action. Whether he shows the bowler... He loves 10 pints a night every day. He just swings it in and out. Pipe as he's going back to his mark. Whether he shows the batsman too much, I'll have to wait and see, because it's so pure, his action. I always think the quick bowlers that have just got a little bit of unorthodoxy about their actions are harder to face.
What do you mean by, shows them too much, Michael?
So for instance, Brett Lee probably bowled the quickest spell that I ever saw in Perth, where the doctor, the breeze was behind him. But as he runs in, he shows you the ball. Right. So he doesn't have an action where the hand goes behind the head or behind the back. He shows you all the ball. Even though it comes at you quick, you see the ball all the way from the action. Whereas someone like Shoaib Akhtar, for instance, he bowled very, very quick, but he kind of sling his arms behind himself, and for just that split second, where's the ball gone? And he just had an ability to subflex the elbow as well. It was natural for him to do that, and then he just fling it down at some right. They say Mitchell Johnson was a nightmare as well. Yeah. I faced him in a couple of one-day games, but in the Test series in 2013-14, when he blew England away, they said there was something about his action that it just lost. They lost the ball behind his back, which made it very, very difficult for the batsman to see it. I mean, you'll have faced a few, Phil, in your time. Most bowlers, you lost the ball, didn't you?
Well, I did. Wasim Akram, I can remember Wasim and Waqar bowling against me at the Oval, and Wasim came round the wicket. Ooh. And you're talking about losing the ball in the run-up. I lost him in the run-up because I didn't even know. I think Shep was the umpire, right? And he's gone play. Well, I didn't see anything. All of a sudden, he's jumped out from behind Shep and bowled it, and I've never seen the ball. I've never seen him. I didn't see the ball in it. And then 90 mile an hour, it swung away, nipped in, and all that. Yeah. And then the opposite was Waqar, who started off by the sight screen and had that beautiful gliding run up to the crease, and and those big in swingers. He hit me right on the toe twice. I couldn't bowl second innings.
Wasim mentioned Musa, that he's exactly like that. Yeah. That's exactly how he bowls. He charges in. I saw him in Australia.
Yeah, there'll be kings of reverse swing. They'll know how to do it, because what Pakistan bowlers always have is, because of the pitches they play, they go for stumps and pads, Mike, don't they? Because there's not a lot of sideways movement.
Toes or nose.
Yeah, toes or nose, and they know how to hit pads. They know how to get late swing. So I'm looking forward to seeing their bowling unit.
I've got the stats, Phil, on. The innings you're talking about there, or a couple of innings. So this is at the Oval in 1992. This actually, Phil. I mean, pat on the back for you here. So first innings. Yeah. Apparently, you bravely finished on an unbeaten nought. 8 balls you faced against Wasim and Waqar. Yeah,
good, Phil.
And then second innings, you got bowled first ball by Wasim.
That's when he jumped out from behind Shep. I never even saw him run up. Otherwise, I would have had another 8 balls. I tell you, I never saw him run up. He obviously couldn't get Tufnell out in the first innings, and so he decided, I need to go round the wicket, and it worked.
They'll make it difficult for England, but again, Wasim mentioned the batting. If the batting can fire, trouble. And I think. If Babar Azam has a series, this series is going to be very, very tight. If he suddenly comes out in 3 games and gets 350, 400 runs, I think it's going to be very, very tight.
And we're forgetting about the leggy, Shah.
Yeah.
Yes, Shah. He made an impact last time he was over here, and that pitch will turn and bounce, mate, won't it, Old Trafford?
Well, Misbah's mentioned he might play them both. He might play Shaheen Khan as well, the leg spin all-rounder. He's a wonderful cricketer. He can bat, field. The one thing that you can sometimes target Pakistan is in the field. You can really tip and run and put them under pressure. It's probably one of the reasons that Misbah wants Shaheen Khan in the side is because he's a brilliant fielder at backward point.
Michael, if I was just going to quickly take you down memory lane in terms of facing the Pakistan quick. So I've got here that Lords 2001, you faced Wasim, Waqar and Shoaib in the same test.
How many?
So in the same attack, Lords 2001.
I wouldn't have got, mate. How many did I get? 30.
I don't know. I've not. In fact, they've not given me that.
I reckon. I honestly think I think I got 30. I reckon I was caught down the leg side off Azam Mahmood.
After all that,
I reckon I saw those three off and then got out to Azam Mahmood down the leg side.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just being told, Michael. You're right.
Yes,
you're right.
I copped them at the end of their careers.
Right.
I managed to score my first Test century against Wasim and Waqar at Old Trafford, but I didn't pick on them because they were a bit old, but they weren't quite what I watched from the 90s when I used to watch on television and see Waqar it was Graham Hick that came into the side and he got some brutes from Waqar Yunus at Lords one year. I picked on the old guys when I was a little bit fresh and young. They were still good bowlers. Waqar still got me out twice in the match, I think.
No, but I mean, these Pakistan seam bowlers will be highly skillful.
They're good.
Tricky
good,
bowlers, and they would have learnt that from those boys.
Yeah. It's the skills, isn't it? It's exactly that. It's not like Wasim and Waqar exactly. It's not just the pace; it's the skills,
Cutters,
isn't it? That's
the reverse swing.
Yeah.
Well, Alex,
the pace.
The one thing I always felt when you prepared to play against most teams, you can cover pretty much every angle in the nets or on the bowling machine. You pretty much know what's going to. Even when you face someone like Glenn McGrath, you just had the machine at exactly the right height, and you could just prepare it for 83 miles an hour on a length just outside off something. You knew what you were getting. Against Pakistan, I reckon they're the hardest team to prepare against because you're never quite sure. You can't really know that the angle is going to be the same continuously over after over because they're so good at just changing angles, coming around the wicket, going a bit wider of the crease, bowling full, bowling wide, bowling bouncers. They'll make your job as a batsman very, very difficult to get settled. That for me is what Pakistan do when they're at their best. They don't allow a batsman to settle, ever. They just make it that even if you get to 20 and you think you're in, and you are generally against most teams, and you think, right, just concentrate, there should be a score. Against Pakistan, I don't think you're ever in. I don't think you ever feel settled as a batsman.
You can't get a tempo against them, Mike, can you?
Which
very
must
difficult.
Make scoring runs against them.
I find that in my 8 balls, I could never quite get my tempo right.
Well, Phil, obviously, from what Michael was saying in terms of the practice, you needed someone to kind of stand behind an umpire and then just suddenly pop out and sling one down.
Well, exactly. That's exactly
that's what you needed. Yeah. But no, surely, I mean, Michael, they're making runs. When you go in as a batsman and you face that sort of skill at that sort of speed and you do make runs, that must be incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, you know you've had a tough day in the office when you do that. The one thing that they can allow you to do is score quite quickly because they try so many things. And that's one of the things that I looked at this young attack in Australia last winter, that they did kind of, I wouldn't say they got bored, but they weren't as disciplined over after over. You felt that if they bowled 2 good overs, the third they might try something. They might try and bowl the Jaffa and you get one on your legs, or they'll bowl the short one just at the wrong time when the batsman's probably read the bounces coming and they see it and go, thank you very much, I'll climb into that. But I saw them against Sri Lanka and in the last Test match against Bangladesh. Yeah, different conditions, more conditions that they're used to, but they were electric. That combination were high class. They showed promise in Australia. They got hammered in the games, 2 games, but they showed promise in terms of 2 or 3 of the spells that you watched. You thought, ooh, if they get it right on a given day in the conditions that will suit them, they're going to be a right handful for some batting units around the world.
Talking skillful fast bowlers, let's move it on to Stuart Broad. I was really interested by reading these comments in his column at the weekend. So he's obviously going into this series on a massive high, having reached that landmark of 500 Test wickets. But as I say, in his column this weekend, this is what he said, having been left out of that first West Indies Test. Were there thoughts of retirement going round my head? 100%. I was so down, I felt my body go into shakes. I could barely speak, which I find that remarkable, that, you know, almost the communication issue there between selectors, captain, and Stuart Broad, that that they're not quite on the same page. That he was at that point, he was genuinely at that point of thinking, do you know what, I might just turn this in.
Well, thank heavens he didn't. You know what I mean? Because he's come back in one man of the series, batted brilliantly, got 10 for, and completely showed that he's up for the fight, wants to carry on bowling. I can't believe that would be. I'm amazed if that is the case, that then someone hasn't said, listen, we're going to rotate, this is what we're going to do. They couldn't have just surely let him, those thoughts fester, because by the sounds of it, we could have lost one of the greats. He's gone up and he's a member of the 500 club and thoroughly deserved. I don't know what you think, Mike, but
I think
that would amaze me.
I think personally he's going to have a very, very good punditry career because he knows exactly what to say to get attention for his. Look, he'd have felt that for a short while. He didn't think that for long. No way, because he knew he was going to come back. He knew he was going to play the second and third Test match. You get those feelings of the player when you go through a huge amount of disappointment, particularly someone like Stuart, who has had a good year, deserved to be in the side. He's the one that's left out. You're in a bio bubble, so your emotions are all over the place anyway. He'd have had a split moment where he felt that, but there was no way he was going to give it up this summer. No way without playing at least. You're not going to finish your career having been dropped against the West Indies after one Test.
But Mike, do you think then that he wasn't sort of told that? Do you think what he's kind of saying in the piece is that, well, crikey, no one told me, they just dropped me and I was thinking, oh, crikey, I'm just going to end it all now, sort of thing?
Well, he probably, when he got told, whether it was when was the game start? Thursday or Wednesday? Yeah. The day before, when he was told, he probably, it was 6 o'clock. He probably felt, you know what? I've been in this bio bubble now for 2.5 weeks. I'm off home.
Yeah.
Knowing full well if he'd have gone home, that was the end of his summer because they wouldn't have allowed him back in. But I'm pretty sure he'd have had Jimmy Anderson close by, probably in the next room, and saying, "Look, just hold your time. Just give it another week. You'll be back in for Old Trafford. Calm down. Just save it for your column." Everyone will read it. You're going to go straight into punditry and absolutely smash that. I've no question. You look at his interview he gave in Southampton. That was fantastic as well. He's got to the stage of his career that he's clearly got a bit left. I'm not too sure how much. It could be a year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. But he's already very, very worth listening to. So
he bowled quickly.
One as me or you's going to go, Phil, I'm afraid.
Listen, he bowled very quickly. He bowled quickly, as you say. This is like I think this is another thing that he was a little bit annoyed with when he was dropped from that first Test. He felt ready. You know what I mean? He felt ready to go. He felt strong. He felt he was in control. And this little layoff helps some cricketers, especially when they're getting a bit older, that they got lots of energy.
Well, I think, Phil, I think the bowling department now, they know, that Stuart Broad, Chris Woakes, what kind of bowlers are they? They're at their best 85, 86 miles an hour seam bowlers. That's that. Pitch it up and nibble it, but at 85, 86 it's a massive threat because that bouncer comes into the equation. So as a batsman you're thinking, wait a minute, I can't lunge forward because they've got a sharp bouncer that could quite easily clock you. So you kind of play from the crease like the West Indies did. They were all trapped on the crease because of the pace. If those two bowlers are bowling at 81, 82 miles an hour, it doesn't sound a great deal, but it's huge. You can then just plant forward thinking, well, if the bouncer comes at that pace, it's no threat whatsoever. I can nullify the full-length delivery. And when you've got Mark Wood not playing, there was question marks whether Jofra was going to come back. Will Jofra play this week? He could be left out if Ben Stokes is fit to bowl. Then you've got Ollie Stone, you've got Ollie Robinson. He's got 5 for playing today in county cricket. There's a lot. Sam Curran can't get a game. You know that you have to be at your best and you've got to be at your pace best, or they'll just say, I'm sorry, your intensity's not there, or you've got a niggle and you can't bowl to that level. You'll be left out the side. So the kind of competition for the places now that the selectors have got is fantastic for English cricket.
Yeah. Just messing around with some programme titles here. So I've got Vaughan and Broad or Tuffers and Broad. What has the better?
Maybe we add him. What about Tuffers, Vaughan and Broad?
Yes, that's the other thing I've got. So you've got VBT or BVT or there must be something. Yeah. There must be something we can do with that. I would have thought.
Yeah, I reckon TBV. TBV. We can put him in the middle. He's bigger than us.
TBV. Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Couple of years, Alistair. Come on.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Of course, I'm joking. But also, I mean, the other thing I would say is, and you're right, Michael, in terms of what he said there. He is a very good media performer. It also means he does have a lot of, and I know there's not crowds inside the ground at the moment, but a lot of public support. People love him, don't they? People love, English cricket fans love Stuart Broad. He's a very, very popular guy.
Well, they should love anyone that's got 500 Test match wickets. It's
a lot of cricket.
It's remarkable how both he and Jimmy Anderson have had this. I mean, Jimmy's been around for 20 years, Stuart for 13 years, and you do it for 5 years. It's a long time. The touring, the travel, the pressure. I just hope he gets past Glenn McGrath's 563 Test wickets, because then we'll be able to say we've got the two highest wicket-taken seam bowlers in Test match cricket history, in Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad. And that, I know the Duke ball does a bit, but you don't just get wickets with the Duke ball. And these two have got wickets all over the world. They're an incredible combination. And you have to say that if both, and you can't see them dipping the performance level that much, Phil, can you? So Pakistan will have to bat incredibly well this week to try and get any kind of score to put England under pressure.
Yeah. Brilliant performer, as you say, brilliant performer. That is a lot of cricket. That is a lot of running in. That is
a lot of teams, isn't it, Phil?
That's a lot of stiff legs, and a lot of the old dogs are barking when you get them boots off, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, did you say 563 McGrath?
Yeah, is that
Michael?
right?
Yeah, no. I'm looking here. So Broad 34 years old and Jimmy Anderson's 38.
Jimmy's 38. He's still going.
38. I know. So Stuart Broad took his first Test wicket in December 2007, and at that point Jimmy already had 62. Wind it on 10 years. When Jimmy reached 500, Broad was on 388. Wow. So what's that? It's 112 behind, but he's now on 501. And Jimmy's on 589. Are
you doing the maths?
Which is all I'm going to say is it's the closest. Chasing Glenn McGrath.
Have you got some kind of scenario that's just bizarre that's going to be amazing?
Have you got a business model
it's not
there?
going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. I'm just saying it's the closest it's been since 2009. But if you talk about chasing Glenn McGrath, can you talk about chasing Jimmy?
Is this an algorithm?
It's not. It's not. It's just a very long, convoluted way to say, can he catch him? Can he catch Jimmy?
Yeah, I think he can. I mean, Jimmy's the one of the two, hasn't it? That's had.
Really?
Yeah.
He's had more injuries over the last year or so than Stuart Broad, and understandably at the age of 38. But I don't know. I said last week on air, I just got a sneak suspicion. It wouldn't surprise me if they both went on the same day. It wouldn't surprise me if they kind of have
Courtney.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not saying I know anything. I haven't had any conversations, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they both sat down. They like the red wines and went, you know what? Why don't we disappear on the same day?
Yeah.
And the Aussies did that, didn't they? Langer, Hayden, and someone else. Curtly,
Warner McGrath.
Yeah, they've been such a double act. I mean, they're so influential to English cricket, and they've been great.
And what you've absolutely got to hope, and obviously we hope that's a lot further down the line, but it's a packed house as well. I mean, I'm just reflecting on the football the last weekend of the Premier League season, watching David Silva walk off in an empty stadium when what he deserved was just the whole place to stand and applaud him off. That's what you want for those two, definitely, don't you? So
legends of the game.
Legends of the game, exactly right. Let's finish with a little bit of the Bob Willis Trophy, which is underway on the domestic scene. I see that Sussex have beaten Hampshire today. I mean, just picking out a couple of performers, Hasib Hamid has had a change of scene, signed for Nottinghamshire and made some runs against Derbyshire.
Yeah, a couple of 50s for Hasib. I see Gubbins at Middlesex got a big 100 for them. Because we're now associates with Alistair Cook, obviously, in the broadcast room, we just had Cookie only got 8. He only got 8. LBW to Matt Milnes, 8 off 20. He got a boundary. So that's not too bad. He just, if he'd have got out to Darren Stevens, is he 40? I think he's 44, Darren Stevens. He was the talk of the commentary. If Cookie got out to Darren Stevens again, he had to quit.
He
had to walk off. At least Darren Stevens didn't get him out, so that's a saving grace for him.
Did you hear it? What was someone got fined 5 runs, didn't they?
Yes.
For throwing a ball.
Yeah, that
at
was
someone. I've seen that on Twitter. Yeah. That was a bit of a turn up for the book. I would have given away hundreds. I used to do that quite a lot.
Hang on, Phil. Are you talking about the one that I seen where he bowls?
Yeah, hits it back to him.
Yeah, batsman crashes it back to him. Then he has a right old fling at the stumps and
then
he got
him right on the ankle and really sort of like busted. Well, I don't think he broke his ankle, but really hurt his ankle. And then the umpires awarded 5 runs to the batting side. I've never seen that.
Okay, what do we think about that decision?
Well, I'm not sure, I mean, from what I saw, I mean, I always thought it was always within the bowler's right to fling balls at batsmen. You know, if they
the batsman had not left his crease.
No, exactly. That's what I was then going to come on to say, Mark. He actually didn't particularly look like he was going to sort of try and take a run, but he did put one little half a step forward, and that would have been enough for me. But no, I think he might. I think the umpire got that right.
Decline, left arm around the wicket. He looks an angry chap. He probably thinks he's a bit quicker than he is.
Right.
Probably.
I think that's what. And it was a nice drive by a lamb from Lancashire, and he had one of those moments.
Yeah.
Had a moment, and he just thought, I'd splatter the stumps with the throw, and he did have landed on the ankle.
Yeah, and I don't think he'll do it again. I'm sure he feels a little bit silly now, but fair enough. 5 runs. I mean, that's what's coming into the game a bit now, isn't it? You know, you're going to get penalised runs.
Yeah. Have you either of you two ever been hit like that by the bowler slinging one at you?
Yeah. McGrath,
okay.
Yeah.
Usually when they bowled it, not through it.
Just looking for some other names here. Ollie Stone. I think we've mentioned him, haven't we, in dispatches this evening? But as a potential, I mean, again, thinking England and possible alternative to Mark Wood. I see Tim.
He was down. Was he down? We saw him warming up at Old Trafford, didn't we, Mike?
Yeah, Stone.
Yeah,
Ollie
good.
Robinson 5 for 28 for Sussex against Hampshire. He looks we had him up at Yorkshire a few years ago. He's related to Paul Farbrace. Paul Farbrace is I think married or girlfriend to his mother, and he looks a very natural bowler. I watched him a lot at Old Trafford in the games against the West Indies, where all the bowlers were just bowling to a cone, weren't they, and to the keeper pretty much every morning. He just looks a natural, good length bowler that looks like he can bowl around 85 miles an hour. So he could have some success with the Duke ball in English conditions.
Yeah, does he bowl like Fred Truman?
No, not Fred. No, Freddie Flintoff.
Yeah, he's a big lump.
Yeah.
He's a big lump.
You wait till Fred bowls. Fred bowls on Wednesday.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. I'm very much.
And he's built like him. He's got big shoulders for a young chair. He's a beauty, Nassim Shah.
No, Ollie Stone can get it down. He's sort of like in the Archer and Wood pace category, isn't he, Mike?
Yeah.
He's 90s.
I once 87, 88. I'm sure he can click at 90 if he gets it right. But
and he's got a nice
late 80s.
easy. And he's got an easy sort of like economy, like a repeatable action to me. Someone who can just run up and go bang, 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 bang. Listen, I've been so impressed with all of them. As you say, we saw so many of them all warming up at Old Trafford. They all look like they could come in and do a job. Poor little Sam Curran. Gets wickets every time he bowls, and he's always the first to be dropped.
A repeatable action, Phil, unlike your washing machine, apparently, that we've learned at the start of the show.
It's just finished. It's only just finished.
Is it? The Bob Willis Trophy, the coverage, by the way, every ball of every game can be heard on the BBC Sport website and app. Why don't we finish on the Test series against Pakistan? And just in terms of, I mean, it's always a horrible one always to ask you guys, but predictions. What do we think?
It's going to be tight. Really looking forward to it for the reasons we've said. You know, bowling as a unit, they've got all bases covered. Exciting with the bat. It's going to be with the bat. It's going to be if they can get those really big totals and put this England side under pressure. Who, to be fair, look, they came back beautifully against the West Indies. They lost a couple of days through to rain as well and didn't panic, just pushed the game on beautifully with bat and ball and turned that series around. So this England side is top class at the moment with lots of options that they can go to. But I get the feeling it's going to be really nip and tuck against Pakistan. They're exciting to watch.
Yeah, Old Trafford's a good ground for England. When they've just played 2 games there against the West Indies, hammered them. Lost to Australia last year. The last team other than that to have beaten England at Old Trafford, I'm led to believe, were Pakistan in 2001.
Oh, good.
I played in that game. Sakleh Mushtaq did for us. It'll be tight. I expect England to win. And I'd expect them to win quite comfortably in the end. But I don't think it'll be without Pakistan showing a huge amount of fight and a huge amount of skill. If Pakistan win the toss on Wednesday and bat okay, I think it'll be a great contest. Yeah, and
Wasim was telling us earlier in the programme, wasn't he, about the kind of, practicing against each other and they're in fine fettle and whatever. But surely there's no replacement for actual Test match cricket, which England have played.
Yeah, and I mean, England, if you look at the recent records, they generally lose the first test of the series, and that has to stop because you can't expect to go to India wherever that might be in the winter, and win going 1-0 down. They're just not going to do that without high-class spin bowler. They're not going to win in Australia to go 1-0 down in Brisbane in a year and a bit's time. So I think Chris Silverwood and the coaching team and Joe Root will be saying to them this week, right, we have to come out the traps better than we did against the West Indies, better than we did against South Africa, better than we did against New Zealand, and better than we did against Australia, because the last 4 major series that they've played, they've been 1-0 down after the first Test match. That has to stop this week.
Yeah.
Is that
England shade it for me.
Yeah. Is that a mental thing, that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the first test against the West Indies, it's been locked down. Well, same for both teams. You go back to South Africa, they had a bit of illness around that Test match at St. John. Joe Root won the toss and bowled, which was not a great decision. You go back to the first test in New Zealand, it was looking like a draw and then a collapse. Yeah. Lost that test. You go back to Edgbaston last year. We all felt it was going to be a draw after about 3.5 days. Again, a collapse. And then they got blown away on the last day. It must be mental, because the skill levels are there, because they proved that after the first test. They go 1-0 down. All of a sudden it's right, rejig, play good disciplined cricket, and we get back into the Test series. But you wouldn't want to continuously get to the stage of going 1-0 down, because it will hurt you away from home against the better teams.
And you guys back in the bubble? When are you back in the bubble?
Wednesday I'm back, early morning.
I'm doing number test 2 and 3 down at the Ageas.
And watching out for Roland, not Rodney. Rodney's fine. Rodney's good. Watch out for Roland.
Smooth action, Rodney.
Like Fred Truman.
You wait. You'll be texting me on Wednesday about Fred.
Yeah, good. Looking
Freddie
forward
Shah.
to it. Michael, Phil, thank you very much indeed for another excellent Tuffers and Vaughan. Nice to see you. You'll be hearing plenty more from them during the Test series against Pakistan.